everybody, it's Moo.
And this is Fuji.
And we just watched Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
As in, there's one mermaid in this, and she is small. I got it, right? Yeah? Yeah?
Anyway.
Don't look at me like that.
I didn't look at you at all.
I know, exactly.
So, this is the beginning of the Disney Renaissance. And
it is.
I commented while we were watching that this really is the first movie in a long time that we've seen that has, I guess, what you would come to describe as, like, Disney magic. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's just, everything is just, not to make a terrible pun, but blows all the past movies out of the water.
Wow.
Like, it just,
Can't
yes.
believe you made the pun.
I made the pun.
God damn it.
And I knew I was going to.
And I like this movie. I think it's good. It's not my favorite, but I like it. I see why it's so damn popular.
I'm appreciating watching these in order because I think
me too.
Watching them in order, it's clear why this is like the beginning of Disney really making their post Star Wars comeback.
Yes, I can't believe it's something that has to be said.
And I think that
amazing.
This movie and the next two, we have to talk about Howard Ashman.
Howard Ashman!
When we're talking about these movies.
Yes,
and
the best.
First, I'm going to explain a little bit. When you're analyzing art, there is something that's called a biographical interpretation of art, which says that when you're looking at a piece of artwork that you need to know the information about the creator in order to understand it. And I don't think that that's necessarily always true, but
right,
I do think
of an author and all.
But I do think that with Howard Ashman specifically, there is a lot about him that helps these films sort of make more sense or puts them into a context where we can understand some more of the decisions that some of the direction took when he was making Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and then
he made
parts of Aladdin.
Yeah, like especially with Howard Ashman because he was only around for like a few of these movies,
but the
small amount of
legacy,
movies he was a part of. I mean,
but the legacy that he left, I think, has just this huge impact on all of the Disney movies that we're going to be seeing from here on out,
even today.
Mm-hmm. And so I really still want to watch Waking Sleeping Beauty, but I did see a couple of clips between
Waking Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, between now and the last time that we talked. And Howard Ashman was the person who came up with the concept of the, I Want song.
Yes, he did.
Or if not came up with, was the one who like put it into words, who said, at the beginning of a musical, the heroine gets a song about what she wants, and then the audience cheers for her, the rest of the play until she gets the thing that she wants. And he described part of your world is like, he's like, you could call the song I Want Feet, but it like draws the audience in, and that's what makes you cheer for Ariel.
That's what, somebody making this movie does want feet.
Okay, let's talk about Glen Keane.
I'm sorry,
you can't unsee it.
No,
okay, Glen Keane was one of the lead animators on this movie, and he designed Ariel.
He's done there several different
movies. he designed Rapunzel also. And the thing is, okay, Ariel's based on his wife. Rapunzel's based on his daughter. And a lot of people have bare feet in this movie and that movie.
Of people, oh my god. And it's focused on the feet and not the legs.
Not the legs, just feet.
Lots of feet.
Okay, let's get that's done.
Foot fetish. Just to let you guys know. So now that we've got that in your brain, you can't unhear it.
I don't want to say that because I might meet him and then it'd be awkward.
Hey man, I'm sorry I accused of having a foot fetish. But I was just taking from the text. If Glen Keane ever listens to this, I'm not assuming of what you're interested in, dude. I personally do not care. It's just what I'm getting from Little Mermaid alone.
There were a lot of feet.
Like, I'm just saying, I'm not, accusing you or anything, okay? I mean, it's not like, say, Tarantino, who explicitly has a foot fetish, and you can tell in every single movie that dude makes. Like, it's always focusing on the lady's feet. Always.
Eric had bare feet, too, in this one. A lot.
I mean, yeah, there was more diverse in the foot look-at-ish.
Foot diversity.
Diversity. Unlike Tarantino, who focuses exclusively on ladies' feet. That's why Uma Thurman is barefoot for the majority of Kill Bill. She's barefoot.
Why are we still talking about
Pulp Fiction? Yeah, Anyway, point being is, we'll get that out in the water right now and just be done with that. Just to let you all know, because it was on my brain. And now we can move on to Howard Ashman, who is an amazing person, and I miss him greatly. I mean, I didn't know the dude he's gone
But
before I was even born. But
that's the thing, is that, none of us our age, like, knew Howard Ashman or anything like that, but it's like, we know Howard Ashman because of his work.
Yeah, we were able to know him through his stuff.
Just like a profound sort of worldview that a lot of us, I think, have subconsciously gotten from Howard Ashman's work, that we grew up with it and it's there.
Well, we were talking about how like this this movie in particular, Little Mermaid, could be like a metaphor with.
Well, okay, first before we talk about that, let's back up a little bit.
Sure,
so Little Mermaid gets a lot of flack. It's 2017 now. It's been a long time since this movie came out. There's people who watched it when they were kids and now we're adults. This movie gets a lot of flack because yes, Ariel is 16. She pretty much falls in love at first sight. She's kind of stupid. She goes up to the surface world, like, very naive, very, doesn't really know how this world works.
Right.
Gets taken in by this contract with this person that she trusts without any good reason to trust her.
Right.
And at the same time, watching all these movies in order, the last princess that we had was Aurora.
Yep.
And the princess before that was Cinderella.
Yep.
And the princess before that was Snow White.
Yep.
Ariel is incredibly progressive.
Comparatively, yeah, definitely.
Compared to those princesses, Ariel is the most progressive Disney princess that we've had so far.
Yeah.
And this is 1989. We're moving forward into that sort of era of girl power and stuff. But we haven't really, I think, explored this, female agency, through this format, through these Disney movies. We haven't really talked about that.
Right.
And Ariel has a ton of agency. She drives the plot.
She does.
And
all of her actions lead to the shit that goes down. And a lot of people don't like actually that Ariel doesn't really face consequences for all this, but I don't know, I'm trying to think, I guess her dad getting turned into a slug monster was pretty much of a big consequence, if that makes sense. And
this is, I think, what we were just about to be talking about, is that looking at this movie and knowing, what for those who don't know, Howard Ashman was a gay man. And this movie comes out at the tail end of the 1980s. And during the 1980s was when the AIDS crisis happened.
Yeah.
And, there was this huge, pandemic. It was,
it was a plague
issue. And there was all the stigma that, went along with being a gay person in the 1980s. And watching The Little Mermaid, I see a lot of what was the word that I used? A cautionary tale.
Yeah.
And it's not to the children. It's not to, people who identify with Ariel. It's to Triton. Because the person who changes in this movie is Triton. He has a character arc. And even though Ariel is our main character, Triton is the one who really has a character arc. And at the end, Sebastian says something about, well, you need to let your children go free, things like that, and, later on this is something that, they get into with Finding Nemo. But with Triton, it's sort of this overarching idea of, if you have a child who, doesn't meet your expectations and you push them away, they might find support with people, who are toxic for them, who are bad for them.
Right, because they will give them the support that they couldn't get from the parent. And that happened a lot if you were, found out you were gay. Actually, it still happens, but that you get people got kicked out of their house. They, their families basically, they pretty much got kicked out of their families and they refused to support them. And a lot of people, there was the gay community, and I'm sure a lot of places, found new families, but there was also a lot of people who
would take advantage of that.
Yeah, and they would fall in with the wrong crowd, for the lack of the better term, and end up in really bad situations. And when AIDS the crisis came along, that made it even worse, because then someone could have it, and it was considered the gay disease for a while, and so it would be oh, well, get the fuck out of here and stuff like that. So I could see why it would be chosen to be written and shown this way, because Triton destroys all of her human shit that she collects and refuses to accept that Ariel's interested in something different. Ariel's different than what he wants her to be or expects her to be, and then he drives her away, and that gets her right into Ursula. And even though I said this when we were watching, Sebastian, I find to be the person you tell about your secret or whatnot have you, or finds out, and you say, oh, don't tell my authority figure or my parents or whatever, and then they do, and then that's what gets you in trouble, and that's why you don't out people, because it could lead to that or even worse. So I definitely, like, as an adult, I can definitely read that subtext in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's it's pretty meaningful in my opinion. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because Howard Ashman was diagnosed with AIDS in the middle
In
of
the middle
production.
of producing this movie.
He didn't really tell anybody, if I
He
remember right.
told Alan Menken
Yeah,
after they had won the award for Under the Sea.
yeah.
Like, apparently the story goes that that night after they won the award, he told Alan Menken, you know, we need to talk. Like, it doesn't have to be tonight, but we need to talk. And
hmm
afterwards was when he told, you know, Alan Menken about all this.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth bringing up, you know, because I wasn't alive in the 80s. You weren't alive in the 80s.
Nope.
I think that we can't understand everything that went along with the AIDS crisis. You know,
hmm
today in 2017, we know where AIDS comes from. We know, you know, what causes it. We know how you
Right.
contract it. But I mean, in the 80s, it was just all of these, you know, healthy young men just getting sick and dying.
Right. En
And
masse.
and they didn't know where it was coming from at first.
Or really how they were getting it, or how it was being
Or how to
spread.
stop it or
hmm
anything. And that's why, you know, there was this stigma of, because it was, you know, mainly among the gay community, that, you know, was this some sort of like
hmm
moral judgment that was happening.
Yeah, it was just
And
called like the gay disease for a reason, because they all thought like, oh, it's just killing off gay people and
mhm,
just gay people and rape men specifically. And a lot of people's lives were lost. I've seen like several like documentaries about this, and the one I recommend is the off the top of my head is there's one I think you can find on Netflix called How to Survive a Plague, and it's about it mostly focuses in California, where like that's where the outbreak was really big, because the gay community, a lot of people in the gay community lived in California, and it interviews people who lived through that, and you watch the story, and this one person talks about like how people were literally dying all around them, and it's so sad and scary, and we lost so many people
mhm.
because of this.
I mean, that's an entire generation, you know, of people who were just decimated by this event. And
Mm-hmm. And
that's why I think we can't look at these movies in isolation. Like, we
no,
have to know where they're coming from, particularly with Beauty and the Beast, as that's coming up.
right, yeah, especially so someone who was like head of making this movie and the movies afterwards that we're going to see, like yeah, like we lost this whole generation, and the worst part, and one of the worst parts was like the government didn't really help, and neither, and in fact they had to help themselves. Like the gay community had to help themselves. That's how we were able to even find a cure or come close to it, because they had to start their own medical community. Like people got degrees just so they could like figure this out. A good example of this, like this movie has problems, but it does show pretty much how like bad that this was. It's called Texas Buyers Club, I think it's the full title, and it's about
Dallas Buyers Club.
Thank you, Dallas Buyers Club, and it's about a guy who he is incredibly homophobic, but he gets AIDS from having gay sex in an outhouse, basically, and he like finds out like nobody's like treating them and getting them like medicine, and medicine that there is around is like absurdly high and doesn't really work. So he's like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna start my own drug company, and gets drugs from like Mexico and takes them back over the border in Texas, and sells them to people, and like not for high prices or anything. Sometimes he even gave them to people. I think it's like based around true stories too. And that's like an example of like how the gay community in the end had to really take care of themselves, and that is an example of finding like a positive outside source community. But there are always the people that, like we said, would take advantage of people like that, like who were like lost and had nowhere to go. Actually, this makes me think of going to Oliver Twist. In that book, play, whatever, Fagin and all the boys that he has steal for them, like that's a thing that happened. They would like, people would like take advantage of homeless children and have them steal in order to stay at their place and stay fed. And if they didn't steal, they could get like kicked out, or even worse than that. It's like same deal. You hear that story quite a bit. That's why it was in Oliver Twist. But like it's a similar kind of thing. And I could see why. And if you look at My Little Mermaid that way, you can really see that subtext, if that makes any sense. Like Ariel leaving and like going to Ursula, because Ursula goes, no, I will help you out and help out your thing, because I can, you know, acknowledge what you desire and let you go for it, if I make any sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Kind of rambling about it. I took a lot of different classes about this, and I'm like, you know, I did research. I'm gay myself, so
But so I mean, you know, coming back to, you know, Ariel getting what she wants in the end, even though, you know, she's inexperienced, she's naive, she makes a lot of bad decisions. I don't think that, you know, the people making this movie could in good faith not give her what she wanted in the end.
I mean, that, and like, what would you have her, what would someone define her facing consequences in that movie?
And I mean, you know,
I'm trying to decide
you
what
can
it
look at
is.
like the original Little Mermaid. So I mean, the original Little Mermaid, you know, talking about Hans Christian Andersen,
oh, that guy,
led a life. Was also a gay man, and The Little Mermaid is written about, you know, this experience of like loving somebody and not having that love be returned. And you know, I'm sure this is common knowledge now, but at the end of that story, the Little Mermaid gets turned into sea foam and dies.
Yeah, or some versions it's like wind or some bullshit. But point being is she doesn't live.
Like she doesn't get her happy ending, and I think, you know, this is the other thing is that, you know, we've just talked about all the doom and gloom that was the 1980s, but at the same time, the 80s was like a really sort of positive time too. Like, I mean,
this started like the modern gay like gay rights movement, gay like community. Like it really did. Like it did have like, I guess, positive outcomes, if that makes any sense. Like,
well, I'm also talking about, I mean, the economy was good. Like, people remember the 80s nostalgically. Like, there were, you know, a lot of good things that came out of the 80s. Like, people were generally optimistic, you know, about things that were going on. And I think that we really weren't as cynical in the 80s as we are today.
Very true.
I mean, you know, to bring this up, like, we live in a post 9/11 world, you know, a lot of things have changed since then.
Yeah.
And I think particularly, you know, this period from 85 to about 95 is, you know, when you think of the 80s, that's the time period you're actually thinking of. And, I mean, a lot of people just, you know, they remember that time fondly. A lot of good things did come out of that time period.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of downer ending just wouldn't have flown. I mean, Disney movie or not.
Yes, I agree. Like, I mean, the reason why Hans Christian Andersen wrote that fucking story in the first place is because the guy he had a crush on turned him down. I think this is the dude where he moved into the guy's house for like a while, and it was supposed to be temporary, but it ended up being for like 2 months. And the guy's family and him both got really weirded out by him and kicked Hans Christian Andersen out. And he was really upset by this because he got rejected a lot by both men and women. Like a lot of his life was like that. So like he did what writers do best, and that's vent their feelings via their works. And so that's why he wrote Little Mermaid, about this like tragic little mermaid that saves like this prince, but the prince doesn't love her back, and so instead of killing him, she selflessly throws herself into the ocean and becomes sea foam. Like, it's very like a romanticized tragic love kind of deal, and that kind of story just wouldn't work as well, if that makes any sense.
I just can't see that kind of movie coming out of the 80s.
No, not really. Like, even like as of this recording, we're getting a Little Mermaid movie, not by Disney, but somebody else, and it is. I've seen the trailer, and it's radically different than like not only the subject material, but like the Disney movie. But I do wonder if they're gonna end it somewhere somewhere in that vein. I don't know if exactly. We'll have to just see, because it seems more like oh no, mermaid captured in freak show, evil circus man. Whoa!
I didn't know that was the tack they were taking with that.
Yeah, that is.
I knew there was a movie coming out. I didn't know that was gonna. Okay.
Didn't know either until I saw the trailer, and I went, okay. So that's what they're doing with that, but I don't know. I also have to see how that like ends. But like a lot of mermaid folklore that people write today, a lot comes from Hans Christian Andersen and that tragic thingamahoosit. I'm doing really well with my language right now. But yeah, point being is like I just wouldn't work, especially in the 80s.
No.
It's just not the same story, bro.
We've been talking for a while, but I do want to briefly touch on the technical stuff on this movie.
Okay. The movie pretty much. Pretty much. I said pretty much.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. The animation quality in this movie is wildly inconsistent.
Oh my god, it is. It's because of the production was kind of like shaky the entire time.
Says who was just saying it's so pretty.
It is pretty. It's with the parts where it's pretty. But
okay, like
that's why I said pretty much. It's not the entire movie.
The
like
segments for Part of Your World and the Part of Your World reprise are easily the best animated things in the movie.
Animation bump goes up during Ariel's I Want song.
You can tell, just huge animation bump. And parts of the movie are just super wonky, and I can't get over it.
I guess I don't notice it as much. Maybe it's because they do a good job of hiding it.
The other things is that every time I watch this movie, it's so 80s. Like, it's really 80s. It comes out right in that middle of,
dim anime eyes.
When you consider what is 80s,
big
culture.
Hair.
The biggest hair.
She's such a big. She's
the biggest sleeves at the end.
Big sleeve. Like I pointed this out. Like Ariel's dress at the end of the movie reminds me of Sarah's dress from Labyrinth, and that is incredibly 80s.
Also, the bit at the beginning, when she sees the fork in the ship, and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, that's very 80s right there.
Oh my gosh, fork. Or
just
Jingle
her hair is so 80s.
Now, I said this when we were watching it, they're able to get away with it because she's underwater.
Even when she comes out of the water, it's still like that.
Yeah, exactly. But you're okay with it because she's a mermaid. You can get away with it much easier. Plus, they kind of make it flow a little bit better than most 80s hair looked.
Her hair is very well animated. It's just extremely dated.
Oh.
And this is the thing. This is the thing, though. Like, it is really 80s. If you saw that on a person, you'd be like, oh, wow, you look really 80s. But the thing is, because she's always been sort of in the pop culture mindset, we don't think of her hair as being super dated. It's just like, oh, that's Ariel's hair.
Did Ariel have red hair in the original story? Or did she? They didn't ever. I don't think he ever described her hair.
I don't remember describing it.
Okay. I was just wondering. I was like, was that originally red? But I don't know. Also, speaking of weird things, like in the scene during "Kiss the Girl," that song, this story pretty much takes place in Denmark as far as we can tell, but the scene where they're can kiss the girl, that's
suddenly
Florida.
In Florida.
We're in Florida. All the wildlife is from Florida. Unless there are flamingos in Denmark, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I doubt it. If there are flamingos in Denmark, then go ahead, and then I guess maybe it's not Florida, but it looks exactly like Florida. It has
it's
flora and fauna, all Florida. It's like there's like, what are places in Denmark? Water. No, guys, just use Florida. Oh, okay. So they did. I think it's really funny.
We are in the pre-Pocahontas cultural authenticity. What is that?
DK, bro. Like, do they have flamingos? Sure.
Man, we're gonna have a lot to talk about when we get to Pocahontas.
Oh my god, I think that's gonna be one of our longest ones because there's just so much with Pocahontas. Like, I think we've said this before in our recordings, but geez, there's so much to talk about with Pocahontas, because it really is a turning point for how they did their movies afterwards. Not only just because, Pocahontas did fine, but, like, didn't do as well as their previous ones, but I think also because it was criticized pretty heavily when it came out, even though it's a pretty well-remembered movie, especially people
because it
my
wasn't
age.
as good as Lion King.
That too.
I saw both of them in theaters, and it was not as good as Lion King.
Wasn't it the follow-up to Lion King?
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was a follow-up to Lion King.
I saw both of them in theaters. It was not as good as Lion King.
Mm-hmm. Plus, like, people my age do have, like, a lot of nostalgia for Pocahontas because, like, it was everywhere. Like, I had Pocahontas everything. I'll probably, like, talk about this again later.
I have a story about when Pocahontas came out.
Yeah? You can tell it now? You're gonna wait till the Pocahontas movie?
I'll wait till we get to Pocahontas.
Okay, sounds good. But anyway, yeah, I like Little Mermaid. I think it's a good movie still, but
I think it's a groundbreaking movie. I think,
definitely.
We owe a lot of things to The Little Mermaid and its success. It paved the way for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's got its problems. It's dated.
Oh, yeah. Ursula's amazing, though.
Ursula's always amazing.
Oh, I love Ursula. I like how she's animated. I like her song. She has a really great voice.
Have you seen the lionfish concept art for Ursula?
I did. Oh my god.
I saw it at Disney World. It's super cool.
Oh, so cool.
But I like the design that she ended up with.
Also, if anyone goes on the Little Mermaid ride, I think it's both in Disneyland and World now, but like the Ursula animatronic is amazing. It's really, really cool. So look it up sometime. It's very, very nice. That's why, like, when I saw Moana and the David Bowie crab popped up.
Oh yeah, David Bowie crab, by the way.
I thought to myself, like, oh my god, if they make this a ride, this is gonna be a really cool animatronic.
If my name was Sebastian and I had a sweet Jamaican accent, you'd feel more sorry for me.
I did think a little bit about Moana while watching this, because I think there is some influence from Little Mermaid to Moana.
A ton of influence.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so, we're talking about Howard Ashman, like, leaving this legacy behind him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for those who have are nerds. I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda has said that The Little Mermaid was like his first musical.
Yeah.
You know, like that was the musical that, you know, brought him into musicals. So I mean, if you like, you know, Hamilton, if you're gonna watch, you know, the new Little Mermaid that's coming out, like they owe themselves, you know, Moana 2, I skipped over that, but Moana 2, like those owe themselves to Howard Ashman and his work on Little Mermaid.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Also, speaking of which, Lin-Manuel gets to live out his dream and work alongside Alan Menken in making the live-action Little Mermaid, or making the music for it. Like, oh man, I bet he is so psyched out of his mind. I certainly would be if I was in his position. And I was a good songwriter. Anyway, all right. Do you got any other thoughts on Little Mermaid?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on Little Mermaid, but I think that we're getting to like half an hour
yeah,
here. So
yeah, we'll just like go on to our next thing, which is Rescuers Down Under.
Rescuers Down Under,
the only Disney sequel on the main animated canon list. Probably for a good reason. I do remember liking Rescuers Down Under when I was
don't think
younger.
I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the flying scenes are the best part. I have to say.
I mean, they were good in the first Rescuers too.
Oh yeah, big ass eagle.
Any more naked ladies?
I mean, naked ladies, penis covers on VHS.
VHS tapes.
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Oh, I forgot to look for the priest's knee in this one.
Oh yeah, the one that people thought it was a boner.
It's his knee.
It's his knee. Yeah, it's not a boner. And as for the penis tower, my family has a VHS cover with it on it. It doesn't look that much like a penis, but I can see where people got the idea from.
People are really quick to find penis-looking things.
People are very phallic thinking, okay?
Maybe that's human nature.
You know, we just look at them and go, ooh, it's a dog.
Do mermaids not have that? Since they don't...
No, we're not. We already thought about how centaurs do it. We're not thinking about how mermaids go for it. I'm just assuming they lay eggs.
What's that thing on Tumblr that your friend was posting on Omegle or something like that?
The release the eggs into the stream or something like
yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, that was great. Like, one of my internet friends, he would go on Omegle and basically RP as a salmon. That's the best way to put it. Where he's just like, I lay on the bed, I release my eggs to the current. That's what it's called. Yes. Eggs to the current. I released my eggs into the current, and got all these different reactions. Which I think someone said like kinky. Most people were like, what? Or some was
didn't
like,
one person like actually call him out?
Yeah, he met one person twice. He was like, "You're the salmon guy." And there was another time he ran into one of his friends. Like, oh man, I know who you are. And there's another one where someone's like, I decide to devour the eggs. And stuff like that. It's like, I lie in the bed, I take off my underwear. And then like, I release my eggs to the current, and he goes, huh, that's new. And then he left. And the person left, and yeah, that was a pretty good running gag for like, I think it ran for like a couple weeks or so. I guess maybe people start calling. So if you ever want to like, you know, weird people out on Omegle, if you're looking for like
eggs to the current.
Eggs to the current, bro. Eggs to the current. You lay in the bed, eggs to the current.
Assume the position.
You gotta assume the position, then you release your eggs to the current. I'm giving salmon instructions, okay? How the salmons release eggs to the current. What a weird way to end that.
Alright, and we'll be back with Rescuers Down Under.
Oh yeah, Rescuers, giant eagles, giant eggs, but no eggs to the current.